such an asshole.
Hey, Cappy, I was inspired to write you after your Men Aren't Afraid of Rejection, the Repulsed video. I'm a young guy and I now exclusively date via sugaring with ladies of the evening. Prostitution. All right, apparently the internet's going to do this, so we're just going to have to do it that way. Technical issues. I think you and your audience may find it interesting, a la Coach Greg Adams. Anonymize this how you see fit. Here are my stats for reference. I'm under 30, not tall, and funny as reported by others. I'm a minimalist, work a lot, and am a high income and wealthy without showing it. And that is a very high income, and that is quite wealthy, especially for your age. I've dated with hot girls in the past, but every single one has been crazy. And when I say that, I mean clinically diagnosis crazy with meds. Yes, the hot crazy matrix is funny, haha, until you actually start dating 9s and 10s. And one might debate, are these women actually psychologically, medically, mentally ill? Or are they just spoiled, insufferable children because everybody wants to fuck them or be them? It doesn't matter. The behavior in both instances are unacceptable. It's fascinating to me how all the women that claim to have bipolar disorder in my life that I dated were pretty much more or less drop dead gorgeous. It doesn't matter. So yes, the hot girls are going to be less studious, less stable. An introductory note on the ladies of the evening. I generally go for the $350 to $500 per encounter range. This is definitely not the high end with models and prawn stars, which tends to start at 1,000 plus, but it's also not the low end. Well, I'll tell you something, that only because I'm fascinated with prices. They must be charging a lot in Vegas, because I said something like, oh yeah, $500 for like a lady of the evening. And people are like, not out in Pahrump, not in Vegas. I'm like, what, really? It's like 2,000. So I guess prices are very high in Vegas. But it's also not the low end of crystal methanies or big women. Generally, the women in this age range are 24 to 30 and A+. Think a cute girl on a college campus or a hot young mom. I can include pictures if you want. No, I believe you. My experiences / why I continue. Let me guess. Less pain in the ass. We don't have to guess. We know why. 1, the sugaring is more fun, partly because the girls know they're giving a service, but partly, I think, because both parties know what you're there for, so there's no pretense. I've never met with a woman who has bitch shields to full, and they know they're going to get something out of the encounter too. Well, that is true. People have a respect, a real and sincere respect for ladies of the evening, simply because they're honest. And if you get, I guess, the right ones, they're a little bit more street smart. There's no drama. There's no bullshit. But yeah, if you go on a regular date, oh yeah. Oh, don't even get me started. I've never had a lady of the evening. I have had women friends with benefits, and they come over, and I imagine the process is similar. We're not in love with each other. We're just here to get our jollies off. It was wonderful. And then they went away. So I'm imagining it's the same thing. I just tossed the gal a couple bucks. If normal dating feels... What? Oh, okay, I see. If normal dating feels like the girl is looking for a way to say no, this feels like she's looking for a way to say yes. I've noticed better, more interesting conversation and more humor and laughing on both sides versus normie dating. For example, when I mentioned I'm interested in finance, 2 of the girls have called out, you should see the ROI on my tit job. There's no pulling teeth, and they tend to remember things we talked about and show a greater interest in me than normie girls as well. The girls who do this obviously aren't shy either, so the sex tends to be less inhibited as well. There's a lot to be said there as well, where the gorilla in the room has been addressed. You're there for sex. Normie girls, quote unquote, the ones you're dating, that is such a huge gorilla in the room, and they are so mentally worried about it that it then affects the rest of the date negatively. Uh, it's just so much simpler. And then, yes, then the girls are relaxed because it's just a job. Like, oh yeah, I remember you're the guy that, oh yeah, how is that? You want to get to the BJ now? Cool, bye. Right? When you hang, it's almost like hanging out with your buddy. When you're hanging out with your buddies, you know, like, oh my God, is he going to want to get a beer? Oh my God, the patriarchy makes me drink beer. I want a beer. Like, oh, fucking Christ. If you're going to put that much weight on it, I don't want a beer. But now that the weight has been removed and these women are comfortable having sex, yes, imagine that. Comfortable women are more fun women. 2, there's less entitlement because everything is transactional. The expectations are bounded in relation to them. Therefore, if I show up at lunchtime and bring the girl some fruit from the grocery store or a bottle of wine, there tends to be genuine appreciation. On the other hand, I had one girl get me a gift bag when I mentioned it was my birthday week. Oh, isn't it nice when everything is voluntary? Isn't it nice when we do things voluntarily or out of genuine kindness? This is better than the reactions I tend to get in normie dating. 3, no long term means I'm not worried about their problems. I'm sure every guy has experienced the following. You're dating a girl. She has some dumb idea. You tell her the idea is dumb because X will happen. She doesn't listen, and now she wants to bitch incessantly to you about X and or have you bail her out. This is immensely frustrating. With sugaring, when I'm not with her, I'm off the clock. Look, okay, I'm just gonna, well, before I forget, let me mention it now. And this is gonna sound very horrible. And this is up for you girls to kind of be different. What we're really talking about is the rent versus buy situation in your point number 3 here. Okay. And there are just some things you rent because you don't want to deal with the problems. Boats. You never buy a boat, you rent a boat. Okay? Don't buy a boat. Planes. Don't buy a plane, rent a plane. Matter of fact, rent a seat on a plane. Don't even rent the plane for operation, right? It's called getting a ticket, flying commercial. It's the same thing here. Human beings are you think a boat is a complex machine. Human beings are a complex machine. And there's invariably liabilities both with men and women that you're sometimes literally financial, sometimes biological, their children, I won't say who. Their mental state. All you want to do is go on the boat for an afternoon on a sunny summer day. You don't want to own the boat. You don't want to maintain the boat. You want a problem-free experience, and then you rent. Because you guys, in this individual instance, you're only interested in the sex. You're not interested in getting married and all that. So that simplifies the relationship with the plane or the boat or the other person. Ladies, it's the same thing for you. Do you want to deal with the guy's bullshit and his baby mama drama? And I mean, I understand why the case for gigolos, although, again, women's interest in sex is a minor fraction compared to men, so that's why you don't really hear about it. But it would still stand. Ladies, right? You want a good-looking guy, or maybe the form of a gigolo for a guy would be a guy who takes you on a date, is really handsome, and listens to you talk, and say, "Oh, that's fascinating. Oh, that's interesting. You're amazing." I make a great gigolo. Gigolo bot 2000. Op, op, op. You are so intelligent and amazing. Op, op, op. Tell me more about your day at work. Op, op, op. Yes, I want to sit and cuddle but not have sex. I am Gigolo bot 3000. Op, op, op. Yes, let us watch the Harley Quinn romance novel. Oh, Gigolo bot 3000. You're so amazing. Yes, I am, but not as amazing as you, dear. Op, op, op. Somebody get in on that. Somebody, could you imagine modern life John as a gigolo? Just sitting there smiling with them pearly white teeth, grinding like he's not saying anything. She's pain in the ass. No, it simplifies it. It simplifies it a lot. You're right. Her problems are her problems. And I'll tell you this, a prostitutional transactional relationship or not, both men and women are getting to the point. Now, it's your problem, man. We're not cohabitating. Nope, those are your finances. Nope, those are your children. Even if you are in quote unquote a committed relationship, there are lots of lines being drawn like, nope, we're having separate finances. No, we're not cohabitating. No, we're not getting married. No, you're dealing with that shit. Like, yeah. But here you're not, there's not even the implication you have to listen to that or take care of it. So I think the relationships are even evolving to kind of quarantine these problems. But generally, yes, in times past, especially, if that's your girlfriend, you got to listen to her shit. With the sugaring, when I'm not with her, I'm off the clock. If she decides to do something dumb, it's really not my problem. It's also none of your business. If she wants to blow all of her money on some dumb trip or shoes or whatever, it's not my problem either. Let me expand your mind. If it's your girlfriend and she blows her money on shoes, that is also not your problem. You guys just have to say, no, we are here voluntarily and you will never get money from me. I will charge you for rent. This turns hot, crazy girls back into just hot girls again, which is a lot more fun. Yeah, if you don't have to go to their place, like if you're not a part of their lives. Wait a minute. You just buy the part of the girl that you want and then they go home? I wonder why. This has been the oldest profession ever. I think this is going to become more, not less frequent over time for three major reasons. One, the illusion of infinite options, largely on women's side, means there's no incentives for them to engage in behaviors promoting long-term relationships. That drives them to be short-term oriented, and if men are going to engage with women transactionally, they're going to be having sex. I would say I'll agree with you in part on this. The illusion of infinite options keeps women out of or delays their entrance into the commitment market, marriage or not. That does not mean they're then going to sell their bodies. They're not all going to become ladies of the evening. But it would increase the overall pool of women that would. So, yes, I mean, we see this more with social media or the OnlyFans, sugaring sites, obviously. So, yeah, there's going to be more opportunities for that. The second, but equally important, is that perhaps most young women are now coming up in a household with zero male authority figures. They have no familiarity with any sort of male authority, which I find makes them incapable of listening to a man tell them they're wrong or dealing with the authority of a boyfriend or a husband. I think guys are now aware that you can't have a functional relationship with a woman without any authority. For example, the dumb idea of predictable consequences commentary before. So that drives towards transactional relationships as well. It lessens men's desire to have committed relationships. It does not, I got to think this correctly based on what you said. The lack of men in women's lives does not drive them to become ladies of the evening because they won't listen to male authority. That's not it. It's that the lack of fathers, what was it? The father has one job, to keep his daughter off the stripper pole without dads around with the media telling women, oh yeah, empowerment, girl boss, do your thing. There's less of a dam preventing women from going into prostitution. And just so you know, I'm not against sex work. I'm all for it, ladies. And I have the lofty economic observation that all relationships are transactional. Everyone's a John, everyone's a prostitute, both the men and the women. So and there's nothing morally wrong with that. But the absence of fathers, one, increases the number of women who are morally okay with going into prostitution. Two, the absence of fathers leads to poor financial outcomes, which makes women financially more prone, puts financial pressure on them into going into late of the evening type of stuff. Second, equally important, a lot of young women are now becoming a household incapable of listening to a man tell them. Right. And that lessens demand. See, now let's switch. It's not sex. It's a quality woman, right? It's marriage now, different market. Women not listening to men, period, means men have less interest in getting married. So whereas the more men in the past are like, yeah, I would like to get married, have a gal. Sure, I'd like to have some on the side. But inevitably, I'd like to buy my own boat. Now there's less demand for boats, period. But that's for the marriage market, not the dating/prostitution market. 3, the primary fear of sugaring used to be diseases, but body counts are so high now, realistically, it's doubtful you're taking on more risk with a pro than a normie girl. Let me know what you think. I think you're right. Inspired sugaring is more fun. And then the title. Right. I do not think there is a wholesale replacement of dating with prostitution. I think dating has gone away because of social media and online, the traditional sense of dating. And that has left a kind of like a vacuum, not a power vacuum, but a product vacuum. Well, what do we do now? Men are primarily interested in sex. Women are primarily interested in whatever they're primarily interested in. I don't know, but it's not sex. Some women may want it, but it's more commitment. But without traditional pre-digital, pre-social media, internet, without the traditions and the processes of dating, a guy asking a girl out, etc., dating has dried up, leaving both respective parties searching for what they want in a market that traditionally would inevitably lead to both. But without that market there, okay, what are we resorting to? So in the men's case, yes. In a lot, maybe even most of dating in men's eyes would or could more optimally be replaced by prostitution. If you're just looking for sex, yes, without a doubt, there's no reason to date. I'll tell you right now as a comment, you will spend a fraction of your time and money just paying directly for sex than you would having to go through traditional measures. And it depends on who you are and how attractive you are, how tall you are. But ever so roughly, what is it? If I had to remember my stats again, 1 in 10 girls you date, that's small. 1 in 10 girls you date are going to have sex with you. So you got to get 10 dates, which means you're going to have to ask out about 50 girls because 1 in 5 are going to only say yes and show up, by the way. It's only about 20%. Only 1 in 3 in those are going to actually lead to enough dates where you're going to have. That is a lot of labor. So we're talking, you're going to date 10 women. Oh, hours that go into asking out and fun. Oh, you're talking at least 100 hours per lay. That's low end. Okay, you make yourself $10 an hour. There's your $1,000. I know I got to back out taxes and all that. It doesn't come close. The math on paying for sex versus trying to get it through traditional dating courtship doesn't even come. A boat is a better deal. Like the stark contrast between renting a boat and owning a boat, that's not even as bad as trying to date to get sex versus just outright paying for it. And I'm aware of the social and well, that's cheap and that's I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking the pure numbers. And so going forward, yes, especially in the context now. My data comes from the 90s and the aughts when men and women sort of still got along. Now, especially if you're to believe the PR front that is put on the internet by TikTok girls and the sex war and women don't need no man, this fevered pitch of adversarialness between the sexes and online dating definitely skewing women's expectations and women's entitlement and expectations. It doesn't come anywhere near close if you're just interested in getting laid. And so from men's perspective, I can say without a doubt, ignoring things like STDs or other externality. If you're just looking at it from purely mathematical perspective, not only is it cheaper now to pay for it, it's always been cheaper to pay for it. Even if you got married, right? Pop did that cost per thrust. And you look at whatever divorce settlements and alimony and all that. Marriage is the most expensive way to get laid. It is the most expensive way to. It has always been cheaper to pay for a lady of the evening. And now the environment, the dating environment, the romantic environment, whatever you want, has become so much worse and toxic towards the sexes, respectively, both ways. It's just even more of an economic slam dunk to go pay for it than to go out and date, right? For women, I don't know what women do. They still date. They go after the elite based on online data, which is not real world. I know it's online data, but we're talking like it used to be 20%. Well, that was just how women rated men. The men, if you look at response rates, of course, it's a sliding scale. You got to be in the top 7-8% of men online. And those guys get most of the attraction. Girls will go out with those guys in the hopes and the allure of getting commitment from them, but they don't because these guys have harems. That's why would a guy trade that in when he's getting what he wants? So there is still demand on the part of women to get commitment, but they're only settling for very upper echelon of men if they can get them. And if not, they are choosing based on behavior, maybe not what they want, crying themselves. I don't know. Not my concern, not my problem. But based on behavior, they will choose, for lack of a word, celibacy before having commitment with a guy like you. And then now it becomes you're actually quite wealthy, so maybe you are a top. And so now we get back into this classic market where it's no different than work, right? Does anyone really like going to work? No, nobody really likes going to work. Why do you go to work? Because you get paid. And I think we just break it right back down. Brass tacks is, what is women's biological interest in sex versus men? It's about 1 in 9 or 11%. And so when you have that warped of a disinterest, like women don't, it's work. That's why they call it sex work. They don't call it sex fun. They call it sex work because they don't really want to do it, but they're willing to do it for a price. And now we just go to a classic market. What is the rate? You're saying it's $350 to $500 for, I think, what every guy would be happy with, an 8 who's just pleasant and shows up and goes away. Shit, dude. What? And I asked her, I said, well, wait, are these like ladies of the evening? Are you in Vegas where it's legal? Or is this like an app? And it's like, I guess it's an app. It's a sugaring app. He didn't say which one. But yes, this is just going to bear out in a market. And you're going to see men mostly pay for women. I'm sure maybe somewhere there's a gigolo service, but you don't see it because that's the nature of reality. Women are not that interested in men. That's why the vast majority of your money when it comes to prostitution goes from men to women and not vice versa. And so for now, yeah. But I think we're kind of here. We've been here for a while. It's not a secret that paying just for sex is way cheaper than actually going and dating. And I've advocated that for years now. I've said many times before, like if me and the GF were to ever break up or heaven forbid she pass away, I'm not dating. I'm not doing that ever again. Absolutely not. How much? Come on over. Now get the fuck out of my house. There will never be. No, absolutely not. And I think culturally, mathematically, being able to have the internet, to have honest conversations like this, it's becoming more and more socially acceptable. I think it's becoming more and more socially acceptable for women to engage in that if they wish. But at the same time, though, that only strictly speaks about the sexual market. That does not speak about marriage or commitment or relationships, which as much as maybe men want to put on a different front, I think most men do want to settle down and get married and find the gal. which now it becomes a different discussion because, yeah, you can't just pay for that. You got to go and you have to date. But with both men and women becoming less attractive to the opposite sex, I'd say women becoming particularly toxic, um, and neither getting into marriage shape, right? I know we criticize women not being marriage material, but what these soy boys with debt, and maybe not necessarily their fault, but there's not a lot of high quality marriage material on either side. You're looking at a market that has dried up. That does not mean the dating market, which would in theory lead to a commitment. Like the dating market would be the commitment market, right? That is not going to be replaced by prostitution. Because you have to get to know that person. Now, the dating market has shriveled because men and women are, one, not that interested in marriage anymore with the opposite sex, and two, um, there's less demand because women are out doing their career things, and men are just like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So it's dried up, but there's still a market. It still will command dating, right? You just don't marry a girl you pay. It's still going to require dating, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. Absolutely nowhere near. That's why I always keep an eye on Valentine's flower sales. And it gets obfuscated because you all keep buying your mom and grandma flowers. Like, what? No, I want like jewelry. All right, what are these commitment purchases? Where do you see that? You see wedding stores closing down. You see jewelers closing down. So the commitment market is decaying. It's not totally gone, but it will also not be fully supplanted by prostitute because they're two separate markets. And so it's for now, especially given younger men's interest is primarily sexual, women's lack of interest in dating men. Yes, I think there will be a growing prostitution market. Some of which will come at the expense of the dating market, but it will not fully supplant the dating market because there is going to be this core demand and interest of some men and women to get married. Perhaps not now, perhaps not to the persons they would before, but it will be there. But yeah, it would, and then that's just looking at pure supply and demand. Then there's regulatory issues like, is it legal where you are? Geographic inflation, things like that. But when it comes to supply and demand of the two respective parties in these markets, yes, I would think the lack of commitment has led to the lack of traditional dating, which has led to a vacuum that would have led towards having sex and commitment, which then means men and women are going to resort to alternative markets, men primarily being prostitution. And I don't know ladies, what's your, what's your market you go to replace men? I guess you all keep fighting and vying for the top 8%, and then just save your money, and like there's a substitute good, you go travel, you hang out with your besties. What do you because you certainly don't get gigolos, we know that. That's not a thing. You just watch a bunch of Harlequin romance movies. What do you do? I don't know. But they're not I really think the gal, like, I either get what I want or it's all or nothing. Either I get everything I want or nothing, and then they're genuinely out of the commitment market as well. So, but I wouldn't say we've reached the point where prostitution has replaced dating, but for an increasing number of men, especially when you're younger and you're not in the commitment market, which is a lot of you for a long period of your time. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, go pay for it. Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's legal and this and that, it doesn't even come close. The amount of time and money, and not to mention headache and agony. Absolutely. All the points this guy made are correct. It is a superior market to the traditional measures they used to. But the day might come you want to get married, and well, now you're going to have to go back into the beach. So there you go. All right, let's go to the super chats. Sleazecore Trick Bagger. $5, $50 on the low end, $150 on the high end in Southeast Asia. Politish, compliant, and relatively demure. Won't ever tolerate Western women. Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to fly overseas, but then you got travel costs. Friend of mine, just a genius guy, but a tortured man. He always said, you will always pay a price. He says, it may not be money, but you're always going to pay a price, whether it's your time, although that's both people, right? Women pay a price with their time too. But your time, but he was more talking about your mental, you're going to pay a mental price. There's going to be complaining and whining and all that. Ladies, if you wanted to keep a man, if you wanted to get a man, like you wanted to compete on the commitment market, yes, be thin, yes, be hot, but boy, there's some personality traits. And you don't even have to be just actions you have to do that would definitely beat the competition. But again, if women were really interested in men, you would see different types of behavior. It's not a mystery. It's not a mystery. You just want a doormat to see. Yep, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yep, you're right. Just want a doormat. Okay. Yep. No, you got it. You figured it out. Have fun. Diginomad, 2 Canadian. If it floats, flies, or fucks, always rent. Felix Dennis. Was that the guy? Because the bankers always said that. Then they'd loan on boats. But if it floats, flies, or we would say fornicates, you always rent. Which is a little harsh. That's a little unfair to women. But yes, if it floats or flies, you rent and you never finance. Faust, 50 Polish zlotys. Thank you for your work about degrees. I got a diploma in computer programming, got degrees. Thanks to that, I upgraded my income to 20,000 zlotys yearly after tax to 108,000 zlotys yearly. That's great, man. It's good to hear. Good for you. Did you know, man, 2 Canadians? I'm a man of God, but Felix Dennis, rest in peace, was wild. Felix Dennis? All right, Felix Dennis. Now, oh, he looks like he doesn't give a fuck. Poet, philanthropist, pioneered computer and hobbyist magazine publishing. Okay, seems like an interesting character. All right. Eric, again, $2. Which of your books are not in audio format? Boris the Shitting Buffalo. I think some of my best of books, like Captain Capitalism Reserved, Captain Capitalism Top Shelf, Love Letters to the Left. Because Audible or Amazon allowed you to convert things to Audible with AI. So I converted some, but not all. Just if you go online and search, it'll either show Audible or not. Alex Rawls, $2. The body counts are similar to professionals. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that. I mean, professionals, that's your job. Some gals, of course. I'll be honest, guys. Women don't like sex that much that the average girl has a body count similar to a professional. They're not all girls can turn it off like that. Some gals, yes, of course. Yeah, but no, most gals, look, guys, they don't like sex that much. And the first point the guy made about that the 100 or this 800-pound gorilla in the room is sex. Why is it you guys are comfortable with sex, right? What is sex? It's fun, right? With the birth control thing, now it's consequenceless. Now, can we go and have fun? There's still this huge apprehension, and it's logically so. Biologically, getting pregnant was a death threat in many ways to women. It was in some ways it was a good thing because your genetics were continuing on, but that was a danger to women back then. So women are not that comfortable having sex. That's what I think the guy hit a brilliant point. Dating sex sucks because women know that you want to have sex and they don't want to. And now you got to go through this courtship ritual where she gets comfortable with you. She feels secure and safe and she can trust you, which I understand. But at the end of the day, it's going to take, at minimum, it's going to take a while for the gal, which makes sense. Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But a lot of time, that's if you're lucky. The girl wants to have sex, but just naturally wants to know that she could trust you, get to know you, plus like you too, right? That's if you're lucky. The other time, they have no interest and they're a bit more mercenary and going on a foodie date or whatever. They're just bored. Or they just don't like sex, but they're bored and they want the commitment without the sex. And no matter what you do, it's not, no. There's a huge, that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and it makes dating not fun, which is why if you ever go out on dating, you should just go out to have fun and not worry about it and let the girl contact you. Just like totally laid back, like, dude, you'll let me know. And they will. But with the lady of the evening, she's obviously okay with having sex, and that's gone. So now it's like just hanging out with your buddy, having a cigar. A lot less drama, a lot less pain. Not to mention you're not wasting your time. Faust, 100 Polish zlotys. Please talk about IQ. I wrote an entire book about IQ. What more do you want me to talk about it? It sucks being smart because everyone's a fucking moron. And you can't even explain it to them because they're too stupid and lazy to figure it out. I started chemistry in college, but I'm an average IQ. I couldn't learn it, but I needed more time than others. I couldn't do work and exam. I changed IT, and the difference between chem and IT was staggering. Well, good. Yeah. I mean, it helps to take an IQ test and a real one, right? Don't half-ass it. Find out what you're capable of. And if you got an IQ of 99, very average, you're probably not going to be a nuclear physicist. If you got an IQ of 130, you can kind of do whatever you want. Yeah, and chemistry is a pretty hard, 125, 135 IQ type of world. And IT, not so much, but still challenging. And you need to know what your engine is capable of before you decide to go on, whichever racetrack you're going to race on. Prince Revolver, $2. Please, yes, Weekend Warriors. Okay. Censored by YouTube. $5. Women have stranglehold on sexual marketplace. It's not that they have a stranglehold. They just don't demand it. They supply it. Let's be very clear. They are the suppliers of sex. We are the demanders of sex. Do some women like sex? Yes. But generally speaking, it's like a ham sandwich. Do you want a ham sandwich? Sure, I guess. But it's not the most amazing thing ever. And those who want it the least are the ones in control. Price is too high. Easiest way to make it go down, legalize pros. Well, it kind of is legalized in certain places. By the way, legalizing it won't make women want it. It's biologically hardwired. That 1/9, they have 1/9 the demand. So, the laws won't women it's legal now. Oh, now all of a sudden I really wish to go have sex with men now. It's not going to happen. Look, guys, the best thing to do, aside paying for it if you're only interested in sex, be in as good a shape as possible, ask out a lot of girls, and then don't pressure them. Be fun, take them out, relax. Just go have a good time. And, if then let them make because you can't, both people have to make the decision. You're already in. It's not like you got to sell men on sex. You got to get the girl involved. Don't do the hard sell. You don't have time for that shit. You just don't. That's it. And if the girl calls, she calls. She does. All right, cool. See ya. Moi free lifestyle, $5. Real talk dating comes from charity girls, which comes from prostitution. Oh, yeah. It's far easier. Yeah, if you want to look up the history of dating back in 1910, I think it evolved a lot since then. It was a way to get to know men. I didn't like some aspects I didn't mind. Like, oh, yeah, there's like, I can't take my friend, I couldn't take Con to the jazz club. You got to take a girl to the jazz club, right? There's some instances where a female date is required. It's far easier anyways. All men just pay up front. You will always, both men and women always pay with the time, both of you. But you men are going to pay with at least some mental toll and still to this day, a financial toll. Everyone always pays. You always pays. which is why it's really good to be forthright and upfront right off the bat, which is why, regardless of the reputation, prostitution is so much more of an efficient market or a trend. It's like, no, we're here. Like when I go buy a loaf of bread, there's not a negotiation, right? The grocery store owner doesn't have to like approve of me before he sells me the bread. I just grab the bread, boom, it's done. It's the same day. Nope, it's already a foregone conclusion the sex is going to occur. So we don't have to go through all these fanciful rituals and, oh, how funny and charming are you? Oh, I feel safe now. Oh, I don't know. I really want to talk some more about bullshit. Oh, oh, be playing video games or sleeping or anything else. All right, there you guys go. Link below. The book of numbers analyzing the ROI in the pursuit of women. It would be of benefit to both men and women to read that so you see what reciprocal interest the sexes have in each other. Ladies, you may make your comments below. I don't care. I don't either say black and white, practical, tangible things, but don't give us the emotional gray pablum. I don't want to hear a comment that starts, well, you see, bop, 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 bop. No. Please go get that book, The Book of Numbers, Analyzing the ROI in the Pursuit of Women. Ladies, you benefited from it as well. It would help if you're interested in getting married. If there are a lot of good stats and data in there that would help you change your tactics and strategies if you're willing to change. See what he said? Maybe I should do stand-up. Maybe I really should. And then also, if you guys kindly would, and you want to support Cappy, get into the good habit of doing all your Amazon shopping through my Amazon affiliate link. I have it linked below. Or you can just remember to go to assholeconsulting.com/Amazon. assholeconsulting.com/Amazon. And once you go there, you do your shopping, I get a 5% commission and cut on all your Amazon purchases. No, you don't pay 5% extra. It comes directly out of Jeff Bezos's pocket. So if you could get in the good habit of doing all your shopping through that link, assholeconsulting.com/Amazon, you can help Cappy out. It doesn't cost you anything. The only thing it costs you is, no, you can't use your fucking app. Be a Gen Xer, be a boomer, use the computer, go to that website and do your shopping there. That's the only thing. It's an inconvenience, I understand. All right, see you guys later, Toodles.